Taken Part 2. Continuing Bob's experiences, here is the next installment of his story. First of all, I would like to make a few more comments about my earlier piece Taken. Here is the drawing that I submitted to a psychic society. I put it here for anyone who does research into the occult. I also did not talk about my personal responses to what I saw. I still wonder if the realm after death will be like it, a dimension of triangles with a dot of white light in each center. So I am not as afraid of death as I used to be. I have already been to the unknown. Now I'd like to describe something that happened a long time ago that, in my sincere opinion, still has value for many aspects of occult research. It was my first experience of the unknown. I was only 9. In 1984 my family moved into a new house. It was strange from the outset. One of the bedroom doors had a one-way lock that could lock someone in, but there was no way to get out. There were passion fruit vines in the garden. An outside door was bolted shut with no way to open it. Life had a middle class, consumer culture normality. We had the same lives as everyone else. We bought the same meaningless presents every Christmas. Nothing exciting ever happened in our street. Perhaps I was more sensitive and open to things than most kids were. I read European, snowbound folk stories on the occult in between the Hardy Boys and more normal pubescent literary fare. In the evenings after school I would play silly ball games with my sister. One of us would throw a ball and the other would hold a small wooden pole and try to hit the ball. The pole was a boring, wooden pole with no markings of any kind on it. I kept it in my bedroom in a cupboard. It rested in the same corner in there. So life was a boring dichotomy of home and school. I was 9. My sister was 7. My folks had jobs in science research and nursing. On May 1, 1984 it was about 9 in the evening. Every night I opened my bedroom cupboard before going to bed. I usually grabbed some clothes. So I opened it. As I always did. The pole was there. It had a serpent on it. Its eyes stared right at me. It had a leering, cynical smile that said, "I have a secret and I am not going to tell you." The serpent was a deep red color that looked burnt into the pole. It all looked dipped in fire. I slammed the cupboard shut. I leaned back on the door, almost hyperventilating. I didn't know whether to run, scream or lose my senses as the ceiling spun around. Somehow I knew that the serpent was from another world. That insight was overwhelming. Ages passed. Was it 5 minutes? Or an hour? Suddenly my adrenaline burst like a huge energy bubble. Whatever it was, I would fight it. I wrenched the door open. The serpent on the pole stared into my eyes again. The same cynical leer of keeping a secret. The same burnt red tongue that looked dipped in flames. The world vanished. I saw endless yellow sand dunes. There were 3 men in front of me. They were darkish-skinned, about 6 feet tall and wore head cloth strips as head coverings. They swayed subtly from side to side. Half moving. Half dancing. They chanted something in a language that was gibberish to me. I must have screamed. My folks came rushing into my room. I was hysterical. Pragmatically they grabbed the pole and said that would clean that snake-drawing mess off with a sponge. For the next 3 weeks I could not sleep. Every second of every day I saw that cynical leer and the serpent's eyes staring at me. In my mind I saw millions of its eyes. I tried to think analytically. But I couldn't. Was it real? Could it be a prank? I wanted it to be a prank. Then I could sleep again and forget what I saw. So I scrutinized everyone I knew. My family. My sister. My friends. Even kids at school. Anyone. But I saw no signs of machinations or tricks. So I had to reach a conclusion after 3 weeks that I did not want to reach. Nobody did any of it. I was right at the time, it was from another world and another place. I was also in awe at the magnificence of it. It wasn't art that you could do in a few minutes. It was great art. The effect of fire. The eyes that stared. The mouth that leered and hid a secret. Moreover, if anyone did it, then they had a few minutes to do it because the pole had been in the same place in the cupboard, unmarked, 24 hours before it happened. I was in the room most of the time. So someone did magnificent art in a few minutes on a curved surface with no ability or motivation. That made no sense. Then or now. I had nobody to talk to about it. At least nobody who could understand. I felt lonely. So I returned to my pubescent life again, in which nobody would understand what I thought about, that I knew at the time that it was from the shadows of a serpentine underworld. I also knew that the date of May the 1st, when it occurred, had some massive connection. I didn't know how I knew that. So it was the sort of knowledge that Rudolf Steiner wrote about, where knowing occurred with no rational element. About 2 years passed. Then one afternoon my cat wandered into my bedroom. She went straight into the back of a shelf and grabbed something. She was fascinated by it. She pawed away at it like she would paw with a mouse. I walked over there. She had the same pole that still had the remains of the red, burnt-in serpent's color that was distinctive. It was the same one. It was the serpent. I sat open-mouthed for 5 minutes. Why? Why should a cat go for that? No movement. No smell. No anything. She could have climbed curtains or gone after a spider. That was the arc of the event complete. There was no longer even a 1% chance of a joke or prank. It was truly and absolutely real. I could not deny it. She kept pawing away at it. Intently. Like it was prey. That was a turning point in my approach to the occult and hidden worlds. I decided to take it all more seriously and read some proper books. Luckily back then I lived next to a public library that had a massive collection of books on astrology and mythology. So I spent my school breaks reading them all till my eyes were shot. I never found anything that looked like the serpent that I saw. Even now I cannot draw it. I can only keep it in my mind for a millionth of a second and then it vanishes. I told a few people about it. Mainly astrologers or people who were esoterically inclined. They had suggestions about Kundalini energy, reincarnation, and many other things. But none of them touched me in the soul. Over time I wondered if when we moved house we had disturbed an earth spirit. I don't know. For research I would like to include the astrological chart for May 1st, 1984. I have changed the place to keep my location anonymous. But the place doesn't really matter. The date and year matter a lot more. I have some theories about the occult significance of May Day and the chart. But I don't want to lecture to people, it's better if people do their own work and thinking. I still feel that I was way too young. I wish that it had happened when I was older. I am not sure if I would wish the experience upon anyone. Stay paranoid, my friends.